Hello, sorry, can you hear me? I think I lost my connection for a bit. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna share my screen once again. Okay, sorry. So like I was mentioning that we have about 13,935 certified professionals. This includes all the certifications, but the majority of our the certifications in the region are on the PMP, certification. We have about 10,475 individual PMI members in the region, and we are still growing every year. And we partner with a lot of foundations that work to provide skills to schools and also universities. So today we'll be talking about the citizen developer, which my colleague Liz Jordan will be taking us through. Liz is a marketing operational readiness lead for PMI. For PMI Citizen Developer, and in her capacity, she creates and builds the city community through engaging content, and which is ranging from blogs to interviews to interactive webinars. And her role is majorly centered on providing the community with the content on their citizen development journey. So I'll take this time to welcome Liz, who will take us through this showcase. Thank you. Hi, Liz, are you on the call? Hi, Joanna, would you know if Liz is on the call?
Nelson, it seems Liz is having just a bit of a technical issue. She's just trying to log in. Just
Okay.
one moment. Yeah.
That's okay. So in the meantime, just a couple of things to mention, that this is one of the showcases that is happening in the region, and this will be happening every week until we cover all the other showcases that we have for the other products. So the first one is this one, which is the citizen developer. The subsequent ones will be on the product called Kickoff. The next one will be on a product on the product called WPS. Then we will have the disciplined agile. We will have the organization transformation foundation. So we'll be communicating more about this in the coming days, and we encourage you to be part of it and subscribe and just get to hear what these products are. And if you are interested, we also have interesting discounts for these products that you can take and advance your career. So if any of us is interested in taking this course, we just urge you to drop a line to us, or my colleagues will be monitoring the chat and they will be able to get your contacts down, or my colleague will share our contacts, our direct email, where you can drop us a line and we'll be able to get back to you with more information on the discounts that we have for the specific products. Also, at the end of this call, we will share with you a link which has a survey about just a few questions that we would like to get feedback from you to capture what we have gone through today. So we encourage you to look up for that and give us your feedback. And also for those that have already done the Citizen Developer course, we encourage you to just fill out a testimonial that we are going to share after the call to tell us your experience and how it fit in with your career and things like that, so that we can be able to encourage the rest to also join in and take the course. So I'm just gonna check quickly if Liz has joined.
Hello, yes, I'm here.
All right, thanks, Liz. Welcome. I did a quick introduction about you, So the floor is all yours. And sorry, I was gonna say, everyone just feel free to drop your questions on the chat. My colleagues are monitoring the chat to be able to answer most of them, but we'll address them to the speaker at the end of, towards the end of the session. Thank you and welcome, Liz.
Sure. Just one small technical thing. It looks like only meeting organizers and presenters can share. Are you able to make me a presenter to share?
Okay, sure. Okay.
Okay, great. I can share content now, so I'll go ahead and get started.
All right.
Oh, 1 second. Sorry. Let me try that again. Apologies. Okay, I think everyone should be able to see the slides that I'm presenting now.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Fantastic. So as mentioned, I'm here to talk to you today a little bit about Citizen Developer and the product suite that we've been working with PMI in developing. So I think before we kind of get into what the product suite looks like, it's kind of helpful to go a little bit step back and give you an introduction into what is PMI Citizen Developer. So overall, PMI Citizen Developer is a product suite that includes knowledge products, courses, which include the foundation course and the practitioner course, and certifications and B2B certifications. So within each of these products, it goes into the methodologies and frameworks that empower individuals and organizations to harness the citizen development and make it effective within their organization. So some of these frameworks might include things like the Citizen Development Canvas, which provides kind of the platform and the overall understanding of how you would go about citizen development within your organization, or things like a product vision board, a suitability assessment. These are all just examples of the types of frameworks that are incorporated within the product suite. And that kind of gets into the question of who is citizen development for? So we kind of see it as two broad buckets of individuals. So there's project managers interested in using low code and no code to drive project outcomes. So much as you might turn to Agile in a certain situation, or utilize the tools that you know from Wicked problem solving, there might be situations where you want to utilize low code or no code tools to help you drive the actual outcome of a project. And then it's also for change makers. So if you want to recommend low code, no code as a solution within your organization, we know that a key role for many members of PMI is to be that change maker, to help their organization take the next step forward, or to really execute a transformation. And that's something that low code, no code platforms can help you achieve. And so to kind of help illustrate this, I think it's always to look at a couple statistics. So one of my favorite ones is this one. Microsoft estimates that over 450 million apps will be built in the next 5 years using low code or no code tools. And then I think it's Gartner estimates that the active number of citizen developers will be 4 times the number of professional developers by 2023. But it's one thing for me to kind of talk about citizen development in the abstract. You think of this idea of, oh, I want to use a low code, no code tool to solve a business problem, but what does that really mean? How do you even get started? That type of thing. So to help bring this to life a little bit, I want to share a brief clip. If you participated in the PM Expo back in earlier this year, you might have heard our panel discussion, which included Donna Sarkar of Microsoft. And in this clip, she kind of will walk you through how Bank got started with Citizen Developer, how it kind of just takes one person to identify a business problem, get moving, and then execute change throughout an organization. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. It's just about a 3-minute clip, but I hope it kind of helps bring citizen development to life for you.
In Sterling Bank's example, the citizen dev who started it all, her name was Foyen Olajide Bello. So she worked in the IT department. She was an InfoPath Forms form over data expert. She's not a software engineer by trade. And the bank brought her a business problem. They said, Foyen, we have 167 bank branches all over Nigeria. And the process is this right now, when we want to move money from the vault to an ATM. So everyone who works at these branches, when they're moving money, they go and write it down in an Excel spreadsheet. They're like, my name is, this is the date, my name is this, here's how much money I moved, save. So every bank branch, 167 branches, had their own Excel spreadsheet. At the end of the week, their job was to mail their own Excel spreadsheet to the central CFO's office. And there's some poor person in the CFO's office whose job it is to consolidate all of these 167 Excel spreadsheets and make sure that the amount of money they have left in the vault is the amount of money this thing equates to. This is not a fun job. And there's always error, always issues. People have overwritten their Excels. Someone forgot to send one. It was just like fraught with issue. So Foyen was asked to solve this problem. So at first she's thinking, how do we do this? And she looks up InfoPath, she looks up forms, all the tools she knows. And then she discovers this thing called Power Apps. So she, in a day, built a Power App, just a form, with a SharePoint backend, which was also something they used in the company. And people were able to just input their information. They said, I'm in bank branch X, here's how much I'm moving, etc. Hit submit, it gets saved to the SharePoint. The same central SharePoint. So at the end of the week, she's able to just generate a report of all the transactions from 167 bank branches. This wound up saving them like 60 hours a week at this bank branch. And of course, she's a hero. People are like, this is amazing, Foyen. How'd you do this? This is magic. You didn't even code. She said, I'm not a coder, so I didn't code. Then next thing you know, all these departments are bringing her problems. HR brings a problem, finance brings a problem, legal brings a problem, and she has problems this big. She said, this is not going to work. So she set up the Citizen Devs Academy. Just at lunchtime on Fridays, this is pre-pandemic, now it's all virtual. She said, whoever wants to join, come join. She had 100 people sign up. And she created a curriculum. She used our Microsoft Learn tutorials, created a 12-week curriculum. Week 1, what is a Power App? Week 2, what is Power Automate? Week 3. And she had everyone bring a real business problem. So the goal was they would have a demo day at the end where each person individually solves their business problem, presents it. So because people came with a real problem, because they walked through a real curriculum, they all left graduates. She's graduated so many classes at this point. So seeing this happen in real time within an organization really helps to convince people. Because saying, oh, citizen dev's a thing and low-code dev's a thing, that doesn't work. It works so much more to have people from these different business units actually participate in these academies and see the business value for themselves.
So I hope you found that as an interesting example of citizen development happening in real life. So you have a business problem that is highly manual. People are spending a significant amount of time kind of reconciling manual entry. There's a high propensity for error. How you could easily build an application that reduces workload, reduces error, saves time, saves money, and ultimately just makes the process much more efficient. So in terms of other use cases, this was a good example that Donna highlighted. What are some other ones? Well, some of the common ones you might think of as a low-code, no-code tool, website build. You might have heard of Squarespace as one, or just any type of thing that allows you to kind of do a drag and drop website functionality. There's B2C customer portals or engagement apps. Big one is business process management. So developing tools that help you with workflow automation and operational efficiency. And then also customer relationship management apps are all kind of practical applications of citizen development. Now, I think when we were talking earlier before this presentation, there's always kind of this idea of, oh, if you build it itself, will it look like something you built yourself? Is it going to look professional? Is it going to look up to kind of the standard that you would expect to see if you were building something from scratch using traditional development methods? So I'm actually going to do now is kind of dive in to just show you an example of an application that was built by someone on my team. And this was built over the course. This was a little bit longer because it's a more complex app. But again, I think everyone should be able to see my screen. This is an app that was built on the Bubble. You can see in the bottom corner here, we have built on Bubble. And this was built by a member of my team as an example of a tool that could be utilized to track project outcomes. So, you know, there's a number of different inputs that people are able to input. They can define what an outcome looks like. Here they would have, you know, you can create a new outcome. As part of that, when you create a new outcome, you choose priority, all of these types of things. And then ultimately it pulls this information together. Right now I'm in the view of a CEO, but there's different views assigned. Pulls together kind of an overall trend analysis where people are in terms of, you know, committed, trending, delivered, requested. You can see the aggregated benefit, break it down by individual employees or roles. But I think from the average user perspective, I mean, this is something that looks highly customized, you know, looks professional, looks like what you would expect to see out of a traditional software development kind of platform. But instead, this was, like I said, built on Bubble, built with one individual team member spending, I would say, I think this took about a couple weeks part-time to get it to this level. But again, prior to building this, he had no experience with the Bubble platform. He was able to teach himself and then kind of build an application quickly. So I'm not going to go into the specifics of what this application does, but this was more to just kind of give you a sense of what is achievable, what is possible using a no-code or low-code platform. So with that, I'm going to jump back into the presentation. So I think one of the things we almost want to highlight is why citizen development is important to project managers. I imagine many of you on this call are PMs yourself. And one of them is we understand that as a profession, project management is rapidly evolving. It's becoming technology enabled. So citizen development is an opportunity to kind of upskill PMs and to be familiar with kind of that cutting edge technology, something that is on trend in the marketplace and that is kind of gaining popularity. So it's also that, I mentioned this earlier, that project managers can use technology to drive the desired project outcome. So for example, on that application I just showed you, I mean, that is a fantastic project management tool that could be developed. You know, if you're a PM yourself and you need a holistic view of a project, but the options that are off the shelf don't really work or don't entirely suit your need, you could develop something like that app that I just showed you that kind of tracks all of the information you need that would help you manage and help you deliver the desired outcomes. So really, citizen development is a way to support your core project management skills and experience. And then lastly, as I touched on, the project managers are trained as change makers. You might want to recommend citizen development as a solution. So if you're sitting in a meeting and people are talking about business process or transformation, you know, you might be able to say, wait, I know a way that we could do this better. I know a tool that we could use. It doesn't require extensive education or experience. Let's look at maybe citizen development as an option. So fundamentally, though, before you deploy citizen development, one of the things that's critical is regardless of what platform or tool you're using, whether it's Power Apps or AppSheet or Bubble or any of the other platforms out there, it's important to have an understanding of the frameworks and methodologies that would help you be successful in deploying these solutions. And that's really where the role of PMI comes in. And it starts with the foundation course. So our foundation course is really intended for all levels and takes about 90 minutes to complete. It's an e-learning course that provides an introduction to citizen development, the best practices and methodology. And it does this over 3 modules, which include the introduction to citizen development, the citizen development canvas overview, and then an introduction to ideation 2.0 and what it is, why it's valuable. And this is really a course that will help position you to continue your citizen development journey with role-specific courses, such as the practitioner course. Now, I'm afraid I think it's cut off a little bit at the bottom here, but also for completing this course, you earn 2 PDUs. And I think it's one thing for me to tell you why it's beneficial or what it can help you achieve, but I think it's another thing for to hear from your peers. And, you know, one of these I want to highlight is from Fernando Romero, who said, this is a fantastic course for anyone who wants to learn the basics of citizen development and how to start transforming your organization with low-code, no-code apps. So in addition to the foundation course, we also have the citizen development, the handbook for creators and change makers. Now, the easiest corollary that I can think of here is, you know, the citizen development handbook is to citizen developer what the PMBOK is to project management. This is a handbook that brings together the best practices around implementing citizen development, includes the frameworks and methodologies that you need for an organization. So, you know, earlier I mentioned, this includes the type of tools that you'll learn about in the handbook. So earlier I mentioned the product vision board. This is something that goes into a bit more detail in the handbook itself. And there's also kind of templates and that you would want to fill out when you're looking at deploying a citizen developer project, like a suitability scorecard. So, you know, in this case, before you even deploy citizen development, you would want to see, is citizen development the right solution for your problem? The book includes tools like this scorecard that help you answer that question. And then the last one I want to highlight is the Citizen Developer Practitioner course, which is going to be launching later this month. It launches on the 19th of May. And this is a 5-hour e-learning course with a 60-minute exam. And this will give you the tools and knowledge that you need to efficiently create applications. So this course is really intended for the doer within an organization. So if you are the individual that would be building the applications yourself, or potentially using the applications within a project management context, then this is the right course for you. And so the key things over the 8 modules in the course you'll learn is determine if your problem can be solved with a citizen development process, brainstorm how to effectively brainstorm solutions, how to evaluate the challenges your app must overcome, how to gather the data and resources you'll need, and how to ultimately bring the project to fruition. And it does this over 8 modules. And we have had up to this point, so the course is not yet live, but we have had incredibly positive feedback from our alpha testers, including the course material is excellent, information is condensed to the point and simplified, aesthetics, interactions, usability, continuity of flow, well done. And also for this course, you'd ultimately end up earning 6 PDUs. So I know that was kind of a quick overview, and I'm excited to be able to answer more of your questions around Citizen Developer. But if you are interested in getting started on your journey, and if you haven't taken the foundation course yet, it is available for purchase at pmi.org/citizen developer. If you're interested in just learning more or joining our active community of citizen developers, so people who are vocal about citizen development and engaged, I encourage you to visit our CD community on projectmanagement.com. Actually, from the front page of it, there's a topic button for citizen developer. And here we have blogs, research, practitioner corner, and kind of some webinars, both on demand and future ones that you can sign up to. And then it's, of course, too, if we are unable to answer your questions during the presentation today, please do not hesitate to email citdev@pmi.org, and we can kind of continue this conversation. But with that, I really do want to kind of dive into your questions. So I think we have a couple moderators who are helping me out and following the chat. I'll turn it over to them to kind of kick us off with the first question.
All right, thanks, Liz, for that. There's a couple of questions in the chat. I'm going to go through one by one. There's one asking about the cost. What is the cost of the course and the handbook?
Yes, so the course right now is listed at $79 US dollars, and then the practitioner course will be $249 when it launches on the 19th of May. And then the handbook is actually still through the end of this month Actually, yes, the end of this month will be available at 25% off, and it is $49.
Okay. And do we have any discounts for the course at the moment?
So I do know that we will be issuing a discount code on, the message should go out on the 11th of May to all PMI members. So if you can keep an eye for that email that will come out, that will be announcing the discount.
All right, thanks. There's a question from Somkesh asking, can PMI provide a repository of no-code and low-code apps or website which PM can leverage from?
So that is an interesting point. So part of the why we don't promote any specific vendor or have kind of any vendor, I would say, tools on our community at the moment is that we kind of feel it's very important to be vendor agnostic. We want to really focus on the frameworks and methodologies that you could utilize regardless of what platform you're using. We don't want to be constrained by promoting Power Apps or AppSheet or anyone. Partially too, because the right solution is going to depend on the problem. So you have to kind of evaluate. But if you want to look at use cases or examples of projects that have been, or problems that have been solved using no code and low code solutions, we do have a repository of use cases on that projectmanagement.com site.
Okay. And Liz, there's a very interesting topic about how citizen developer there's a fear that is coming to replace the software developers, and there's that worry. So there's a question on the chat asking about the same thing, and I would just like you to clarify a bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the intention of citizen developer is not to replace the IT function. The IT function is going to remain integral to most to businesses. We don't see that going away. What citizen developer does, though, is it helps alleviate the IT backlog. I think many people have had issues within their organizations where you have a business problem and it's probably critical to your day-to-day role, right? You see something that if you had an app for that, it would make your job simpler, or might have a real impact on your team's job, that type of thing. But when IT has the whole business is looking at it holistically, your problem might end up at the bottom of the pile, right? They just are dealing with mission critical things like cybersecurity, data protection, data privacy, that type of thing. And some of these day-to-day business solutions, as much as they want to partner with the business, as much as they want to help, they just don't have the bandwidth to solve. So that's where citizen developer comes in. Citizen developer kind of allows you to do those kind of day-to-day small scale builds yourself without having to necessarily involve IT. But when you start to get higher to more like enterprise scale builds, IT is still going to need to be there. They're still going to help provide the governance. So that's really, we see just them kind of working hand in hand. It's not intended to take away a role or to kind of diminish the role of a traditional IT function. In fact, it's just freeing up IT to kind of focus on those mission critical areas while the business user can focus on the business critical issues to them.
I actually personally like that. And I hope that the worries and the fears that most of us would have around that, this make the clarification and explanation that you provided actually makes sense. Okay, so we have another question from Michael asking, so what platform, and I think you addressed part of this, probably you can touch on it again. What platform will be used for these solutions? And is asking, are we like using WordPress and the rest, or?
So what the right platform is going to be is really dependent on what the problem is. There's, like we said, we were talking to one of our kind of CD influencers within our community, an individual, Max Miro, who runs a podcast called Entrepreneured, which is fantastic. I encourage people to check it out if they want to, where he kind of just looks and tests various different no-code platforms. And I think he said at last count, he had identified over 420 different no-code platforms, and these are in different stages of maturity. You know, some are quite startup, and then you have at the other end you have something like AppSheets, but each of them have kind of different benefits and limitations. So, you know, there's certain applications that are extremely good for a website build, and that might be something like Squarespace. But then if you need to do something that's entirely based on relationship management from spreadsheets, AppSheet might be your go-to platform. And, you know, then there's other ones that are targeted really on data visualization. So something like a Tableau is heavily data visualization. So there isn't going to be a right platform across the board necessarily, but it's thinking about what your problem is and then looking for a platform that aligns with that, if that makes sense. So that's why a good starting point before you try and dive in is to actually, the best way to test it out is to first think of your problem and the problem you want to solve, and then to look for what platform kind of aligns with those goals.
All right, I think that clarifies it. And just I would understand that most of us do not have knowledge about the citizen developer, so I would presume that some would be asking why did we decide to call it citizen developer?
Right. So I think the biggest thing is that it's the focus. We always talk about it as the democratization of software development. So, you know, it's kind of building on the trend of, not the trend, but kind of where we see widespread in other areas, kind of the democratization of a role. So, you know, a citizen, I'm trying to think of other ones where it's used, like, I'm drawing a blank on that, but it's the idea, it's the democratization so that any person can pick it up. It's that the average person, the average citizen can be a developer. You know, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have extensive education or years of background in computer science or mathematics, that the average citizen can really become a software developer themselves.
Okay, so I would just go back to the previous question a bit about the adoption of citizen developer in organizations, and just get more clarification. So if an organization wants to take on to actually just take on a citizen development and introduce it in the organization culture, are there any pointers that you would want to give, or how they can ensure that there is no conflicts with especially with the IT department, just to ensure that people don't feel insecure of losing their jobs, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go back to actually kind of the example that Donna walked through, you know, and I think the easiest way to get people on board and to engage with stakeholders is to start small and to know where you're going to have an easy win. So I think if you start with a discrete problem, and then go and build from there, that's how you kind of win the hearts and minds of the people along the way. You know, it's one thing to walk into an organization and say, I'm ready to digitally transform you with low code and no code. It's another thing to walk in and say, I've identified an inefficient business process. I want to propose a solution to this business process. Can I test it? And then you test it, you demonstrate the effectiveness, and from there you're able to scale and build. And it's a little bit, I think, for the skeptics, the best way to win them over is success, right? So you build it, it works, and then you have people around you saying, wait, how did you do that? Or how did that get started? Next thing you know, that's kind of where what Donna was mentioning, the people coming around wanting to learn about it themselves, kind of that way. And I think that also starting small also helps bringing IT along and alleviating that fear too, right? Because you're starting in a controlled, measured way where they can see the impact and outputs of what you're building, as opposed to kind of doing like a whole scale transformation.
Okay, yeah, that's actually a good explanation. Thanks for that. The other question would be around the handbook itself, and does the handbook really cover all the phases, or is just the foundation phase? And if someone wants, for example, to take the certification, do they have to read the entire handbook, or they can go right ahead and just purchase the course itself?
So I would say that the handbook goes into significantly more detail than the foundation course. The foundation course is really an introduction to citizen development. If you're completely new to it, it highlights the benefits, the advantages, and then kind of broad strokes what the movement is about and how to start applying it. The handbook takes it down several more layers and really gets into what the tools, frameworks, and methodologies look like. And it's a fantastic accompaniment to the practitioner course. So, you know, it reinforces the concepts that you learn in practitioner, goes into them, and is a complement. I wouldn't say you have to purchase the handbook while you're taking the practitioner course, but it's a fantastic reference guide. And I think it's one that if you're looking, as I said, the practitioner course is geared for the doer. And so it's kind of, if you're looking, if you are starting to do citizen development, it's nice to have that handbook to kind of quickly refer to and look something up. You know, you're thinking, oh, wait, now's where I should do a suitability assessment. Let me just flip through the book and kind of read that chapter again, or like before I get started. So they don't have to be purchased together, but I think they're a fantastic complement and they're a good resource. I know myself, I like having kind of that textbook on hand to quickly reference and flip through when I'm about to, you know, start something new like that.
Okay, great. The other question that would probably arise on the handbook is, I know there was a couple of questions about the apps that you can use with Citizen Developer. Would there be probably a guide on the handbook that talks about some of the best practices when choosing these platforms, or something around that?
So in the practitioner course, we walk through a number of kind of use cases and examples of like how the end-to-end app build process. We don't go into significant detail on evaluating specific platforms, just because the number of platforms is constantly changing. You know, as I said, like it's a massive startup community. There's no new entrants emerging on a routine basis, but it does kind of give you the basis for how you would start, and it does it through practical application.
Okay, all right. There's another question around that again, so which is about will it be available for free like the other handbooks that are there for PMI, PMI standards, or the guides that are there, or this is going to be purchased, right?
So the book will be available for purchase. I think I should have, it's a bit remiss of me. One thing I forgot to mention is we actually have a webinar coming up on the, I believe the 16th of June. You can it might be full, but it'll be available on demand afterwards if it's not, but on projectmanagement.com. And we're actually doing an entire webinar on how to choose the right low code, no code platform for your project. So it's not material that's covered explicitly in the handbook, but that's also the benefit of the community that we're creating, is we want to do these webinars that supplement it and focus on answering that question. So I would encourage you to visit the projectmanagement.com citizen developer. The webinar will go live, I believe off the top of my head, I think it's about June 16th. It might already be full, but it'll be available on demand after the fact. But that's the kind of the questions we can hope our community can crowdsource and answer some of that too.
Okay, that's great. So there's a question from Michael asking, is there in the near future, are we going to allow the ATPs to take up on this and be able to train people on citizen development?
That is a question I'll have to defer at the moment. I think there's some kind of broader conversation as the product suite is being developed. So I'll have to defer that one for future.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I think most of the attendees probably would be wondering, and some of them would be maybe on their Agile journey and they're taking the discipline Agile and just trying to wonder how does the citizen developer tie in with the discipline Agile the frameworks in it?
Yeah, so I think this is a good one, because citizen development very much complements disciplined agile. It's not meant to be a replacement. There's, just in certain situations that citizen development is going to be the right solution, but in other situations, really a more traditional software development lifecycle is going to be the correct way to do it. Maybe it's due to the complexity of the project, maybe it's due to kind of the scale, or there's other limitations, the level of expertise required, that type of thing. So, I could kind of think of it, if you're a PM and you kind of have your whole tool belt of like wicked problem solving, disciplined agile, citizen development, there's going to be certain problems that you're going to come across and you'll want to evaluate them. And you might, in certain situations, evaluate and determine ultimately a disciplined agile approach is going to be the best way to solve this problem. And at other times you might say, you know what, given the scope of this problem, the scale of it, I think actually the citizen development route will be the most effective and the most efficient way to get it done. So I think it's having an understanding of kind of the full range from disciplined agile to citizen development will only assist you in better identifying when to apply which approach. So they kind of work hand in hand, and a lot of the concepts you'll see reinforced with each other. So that's kind of how I'd phrase it. It just gives you a better range of options to solve your business problem.
Okay, great. And I think it's a great conversation, but I think that there's a question that probably will arise from that, and probably around the careers of people, of most of the attendees, or anyone else that would be interested to take the citizen developer. And this would be currently companies in the world or in different regions. Are they looking, would you know, if they will be looking to hire PMs that have citizen developer, and is this an upskill for most of the project managers?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this is actually one that I kind of think about it in the same way that years ago, there was kind of if you put proficient in Access or proficient in Excel, you want to flag that on your CV as like, I'm a project manager, but I also have this technical skill. That the way we see it becoming is it Power Apps might be that next Access. You're PM, but you're also proficient in this. It's a way to help kind of, especially since the practitioner and the future courses will include a micro credential. It's a way to help you stand out, right? You're a PM, but you have this expertise that allows you to manage projects in a different way and potentially a more efficient, cost-effective way.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much, Liz. This was a good session. I would like to stop there and just point a few things. If there's any more questions, I see one last question. We'll take this one, yeah, and then we'll stop there. Is there any prerequisites for the practitioner course, which will determine whether it's a valuable credential?
So this is an interesting one to try and quantify at the moment, in part because it is relatively new comparatively. Although no-code and low-code platforms have been around in some capacity for a while, the movement as a whole in citizen development has really accelerated. In no small part, I think, the digital transformation acceleration that occurred as a result of this massive shift to work from home. So what the quantification of the impact is, I think we are still attempting to measure that, but it's more of the conversations that we're having in the market with businesses, with vendors. We're actually in the process of planning, not to defer all of the questions to webinars, but we're in the process of planning an additional webinar in June that is actually looking specifically on citizen development and the future of work. So kind of digging in with subject matter experts specifically around that concept and why employers are looking for that skill set and how they kind of see roles evolving based on citizen developer.
All right. Okay. So I guess we need to look forward to that webinar, right?
Yes, and all of our webinar content will get posted on projectmanagement.com. So if anything is full or you're unable to sign up for it now, it will be posted after the fact. And then also on pmi.org/citizen developer. That's where you can sign up for our mailing list, and that way you'll be the first to know when events are coming up, and also be the first to know when courses are being released.
All right. Thank you so much for a great presentation, Liz. If anyone else thinks of any questions, we welcome you to drop us an email. We'll be able to respond to those. And I'll quickly just share my screen of the next product showcase that we have next week, talking about a very interesting product that we encourage you to come and listen to a great presentation again. And this will be on the 12th of May, the same time as today. And we'll be sharing more details about this in the course in the next coming days. And we look forward to seeing you then. Thank you so much. We will follow up this conversation on email by sharing with you a survey so that we can get feedback from you. Anything that you wanted to wanna see us improve on, or if you wanna talk about anything and give us any feedback around what we have talked about today, or if you have a specific question, you can drop us an email on the email that is there, pmiafrica@pmi.org. And Liz will be able to address all these questions, and we'll be sharing them with you on email. The other thing, for those that have already taken the course, the Citizen Developer course, we welcome you to fill out the testimonial, which will be shared on email, so that we just kind of just get to understand your feedback on how the course was, and also to encourage the rest who haven't taken the course. So the other thing I would mention that is Kickoff is a free course. I would encourage most of you to go to and take the Kickoff course, which is free. My colleagues will be able to share more information on chat so that you can quickly go in and have a look. We will share the presentation and the video for today's showcase. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Liz, and thanks the team.
Thank you so much for having me. Enjoyed the conversation. Look forward to seeing more of these names in our community. So fantastic.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Liz.